Hi, I'm Lou Green. Welcome to America's Crossroads. Welcome to America's Crossroads. I'm Lou Green. Tonight is the final show of our series as we head for our winter break, but we'll be back in the spring, so keep your antenna up and you'll be notified when we're back, either from TBCN or through our website, americascrossroads.tv. And some of you, we do have your email address, so watch out. Tonight we're headed for Queens, New York, to meet Art Shifrin, who is an audio archaeologist. What is that? We're going to find out. And then On Tampa Bay with Sharon Calvert, and we're going to have a little year-end review with On Tampa Bay about the goings-on in Tampa Bay and beyond. And then we're going to play with our toys. Yep, boys will be boys, and they do love their trains at Christmas time. So we're going to meet the Housatonic Railway Club in Fairfield, Connecticut, and then pop over the ocean to Freinsheim, Germany, and go above an ice cream shop where there's a unique museum, the Bing Toy Museum. They have trains too, but theirs go back to the 1890s. So first, it's off to Queens to meet Art Shifrin. Let's hit the road. Hey, America's Crossroads comes to Queens, and I'm with Art Shifrin, who is an expert restorer of lost sound. And I'm talking about getting sound out of things that nobody imagined could be recovered, like old records, wire recording, tape, things like that. Talk to me, Art. What do you do?
Hi, Lou.
Good to see you, Art.
Thank you. And I have a studio here, part of which you see right now. And I've done work for archives, museums, private collections, and so forth. Some forensic work involving surreptitiously made recordings, legally done.
Yes.
Where people have said things that got them off the hook or got them on the hook. You know, this is really excellent timing. I just came back from checking Humphrey Bogart filmography. You'd say to yourself, what the hell are you, where am I going with this?
Yeah.
Well, just a couple of nights ago on TCM, they were showing a Bogart film in which he plays a kind of troubled screenwriter who's not having the best time in his career. And he winds up being understandably, justifiably, but unfairly suspected of having killed a very pretty young woman. And in this scene where he's being interrogated by the cops, maybe it was Frank Lovejoy, who's in the film, but they're interrogating him, and Bogey says to the cop, he says, are you recording this on wire or tape? Now, this is a film that was made in 1950. I think it's called In a Lonely Place. And I was sitting there saying to myself, now how many people watching this film would even catch that line and realize why the question was asked?
Yeah.
And that is because 1950, at least for consumers, non-professional recorders of sound, there was a, to use a sound term, a segue, a transition happening in the audio business. Because right after World War II, because of various historical circumstances, recording magnetically became in vogue in the United States. It had been pretty widespread in Europe, and in fact it was even invented back in Denmark in the 1890s, but it was in increasing use throughout Europe, but it never really hit the United States until after the war, when we came back with some technology that we discovered in use over there. Well, it turned out that there were two rather efficient ways to record using magnetic fields, magnetic signals. One being on wire, not tape. What most people who remember tape at all might recognize this stuff is that here's a cassette which contains a little tape in it that's 1/8 of an inch wide. Here's an open reel tape that was pretty commonplace even by 1950, tape that's a quarter of an inch wide. And there was a kind of a battle going on between the two media, and wire inevitably lost the battle. And it lost the battle for some very good practical reasons. The wire was easily broken, it was easily tangled, it was typically only about the diameter of a human hair, you know, that stuff we used to have much of on our heads. So that at that time there was still a pretty good established base of wire recorders that were already in use. They had become available around 1946. Companies like Webcor, Webster Chicago, which became known as Webcor. Other companies, you could buy with these wire machines in a Sears. They had their own brands that were made for them by other manufacturers and so forth. And because I'm a proud alumnus of a once great company, Ampex. And Ampex was a company that, for example, developed the very first truly practical videotape recorder, which they sprung on the broadcasting business in April 1956. But before that, they were involved in magnetic recording, and they got into it the easy way. They simply reverse engineered, which is a polite way of saying they stole the design of the German magnetophone, which was a real tape recorder that was in use widespread throughout Germany in the 40s and even before the war in the 30s. And it was a commercially made product that was introduced in 1935. And even that far back then, they realized that there were some good arguments for not recording on wire but on tape.
So do you have examples of this wire and,
Yes.
and the quality
Yes.
therein?
And when you bring up the subject of quality, people could leap to a certain assumption that there is a fixed inherent quality to any medium. And we learned quite some time ago that, for example, recordings that were cylinders or discs that were made through horns could be made to sound much better if they were not played back in the reciprocal way. And I do realize that there are some people who feel that that's the only right way to play them, and that's their philosophy, and that's okay if that's what makes them happy. Fine. The same thing with early electronic or pre-electronic audio recorders. The first wire recorder that was invented, actually made practical by an inventor named Vladimir Poulsen in Denmark in the 1890s, came up with recording an actual signal off of the part of a telephone handset, recorded to a magnetic head, and it recorded on wire. And there is surviving a recording of Emperor Franz Joseph very briefly talking about this miraculous technical accomplishment at some trade fair, recorded around 1900.
Sendung hat mich sehr interessiert und ich danke sehr für die Vorstellung derselben.
The machine was called a telegraphone. We have here an actual Webcor wire machine from the 1940s, and what we're going to show is the machine playing this kind of a wire. This is a spool of wire, that 0.003 of an inch diameter stuff. It's made out of stainless steel, and it is about 1.5 miles long.
Let's hear what it sounds like.
Sure. Because the wire is rippled, it is not having consistent contact on the face of the head. And that's what makes those tinkly sounds. So when you take that same wire and you play it here under the constant tension of the improved system with the servo capstan motor, you basically are straightening out the wire in a kind of real-time chiropractic adjustment, as if you were on the table and you were being straightened out and bent and pummeled by a good chiropractor. That's what the machine is doing to the wire. So when you take the audio that has the corruptions that were on the wire as played back on the original machine, you would have to do extremely time-consuming filtering to try to get out that noise. And that noise would never be completely removed. It is impossible to do, even with the most sophisticated digital processing At least it is impossible in my opinion. So having the opportunity to pick these guys' great brains, and I was privileged to pay them for those services, of course, as subcontractors, we came up with this design. And what happens then is that the wire plays from the supply spool, just as it's doing here, and it goes around this guide, and it goes under this guide. Here is the head that takes the magnetic field and turns it into an electrical impulse, and it goes through this array of systems, and it winds up being taken up back on this spool. The electronics that we are using to play it back are a wonderful old high quality ICO vacuum tube preamp. And the preamp in this particular case is patched into my speaker system, which is being picked up by the mic that's on the camera. So when I hit play, the wire starts playing. Now, the significance of the difference in the quality between the wire being played back on this machine and what you hear on the same.
So basically, it's sound archaeology 101.
That's an excellent. That's an excellent analogy.
Yeah,
it really is. I like to think of it, and I have some moderate interest in the later the latter Egyptian dynasties. But sure, it's unwrapping a mummy from the 17th or 18th dynasty and not knowing what the hell
And
you're
finding out he had
earphones.
earphones on.
Earphones, or tubes from an Edison cylinder machine,
Yeah.
something like that.
Anyway, thank you very much, Art.
Thank you for
It's
this
my
opportunity.
pleasure.
Thank you, Lou.
To have this class in audio restoration.
One part of it, anyway.
Yeah, it's first class.
And then we'll
the
get
more
to
classes
get to doing some discs at another time.
Then we can get into some detail.
Yes, that would be groovy.
Thank you, Art.
And now you know why Bogey asked, is this being recorded on wire or tape?
Hi, I'm Sharon Calvert, and this is On Tampa Bay.
And I'm Lou Green.
And here we are at the end of the seasons of America's Crossroads. And we're going to look back and maybe back at what happened last year. It was a big year in many ways. And look forward. We are actually looking forward to 2015, I think.
I can't wait till the middle of January.
Well, actually, maybe then all the shopping season will be over for a while.
Well, that's for sure, yeah.
But last year, I think I'll have to say that the November election was a big, bad response to big government.
Well, big government kind of took it in the shins there.
And in the shins is probably polite.
Now, the trick is, will they, who got our trust to follow through, will they follow through? What do you think?
We hope so. I mean, we really do. Otherwise, we have another election in 2016, and we'll try to get some more conservatives elected. But, I mean, between now and 2016, even having both houses of Congress, there will be some limits to what Congress can or can't do. But I think the one thing is just to stop Obama's agenda from moving forward for the next 2 years.
You can't divide and divide and divide. We're all Americans here. You
Well,
know,
that's
one
true.
pot, one big stirring pot.
That's true. And
Get rid of the hyphen.
that's right. We are Americans. All of us came from somewhere
Yeah,
else,
yeah.
unless I guess you're an American Indian. So, and that's the way that we need to look at ourselves, and don't divide us, because I think that has caused more polarization over the last few years, and it's very unfortunate. President Obama had a great opportunity to be a good role model for many people.
Well, I think when these certain comments are made and certain things happen that are divisive, the media loves to stir the pot. And now the media is kind of driving the engine here. And we never elected the media,
Well, that's true. And what's happened with the media is they're not reporting anymore. They're trying to create a narrative.
Yeah.
They're trying to create their narrative, and obviously it's a biased one.
And I've seen so many people that have actually been to events and then watch the news, and that's not what the event was.
Let's take this down even to the local level,
Of course.
I've been at the same media that our local media has been at, and the next day, I thought, were they at the same place I was, or were
Right.
they asleep?
Right. Well,
Or did somebody just hand them a talking point and they decided that, that's all they're going to write about? Because many times they actually miss the important, but they pick out one thing that they focus on, and sometimes it actually is really not the most important thing that may have been even discussed.
because of all the bloggers and everybody out there today, that once the first headline hits, you find so many news outlets that are willing to run with it before they do any research.
Well, maybe we should be talking about Rolling Stone magazine.
Well,
You know?
I mean, that's Exhibit A this week.
Right. Well, that's true, and it's unfortunate because our form of government needs the media to tell the truth, and that's what Americans deserve. And unfortunately, we're either getting a half truth, part of the truth, or perhaps none of the truth and outright lies. And it's not right. And it's probably a combination of a number of things. One, wanting to create a narrative that is theirs. Two, being lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, today it's easy to get information. I mean, you can kind of pull that onion back when you're presented with something. But the thing is, just get the facts.
Yeah.
Get the facts. I mean, Americans deserve the truth.
Well, speaking of facts, that's the thing that sunk Greenlight Pinellas.
Yeah, once the facts
some
got
people had the facts.
once the facts got out there, people said no, N-O. And look
Yeah.
what's happened with Obamacare, with Gruber out there actually telling the truth and trying to backpedal himself in front of Congress. But, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
We all knew that. In fact, a lot of what he had said, we the people were saying in 2009 and 2010 that this is not right, that all this is being done, it's disingenuous. It's not, we're not being told the truth, and it all being behind closed doors. And so now, we actually have somebody that apparently was helping to architect it. Tell us.
Well, even on this little show, we never erase the video. We keep it. We keep it for historical purposes.
And we're fine with that, right?
Yeah, we're fine with it. But somebody out there always has the video today. You can't go anywhere. You can't walk down the street by yourself without being filmed.
Yes, and anybody that's in any, speaking on any important topic or issue or in the public eye at all has to realize that somebody's got their phone with them and may record you.
Oh yeah, it's almost like an old the old Western movies, where the guy would walk, the gunslinger would walk into the bar, and all of a sudden everybody would, boom, have their gun out. Today, everybody, boom, has their cell phone out.
That's a good analogy. That's funny. You can actually watch it at events. They all come up.
Oh, yeah.
They start filming or taking pictures.
And the thing, and then they hit one button and it goes to the news station.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they're tweeting it
Yeah.
or putting it on their Facebook. Yeah. It's a totally different world today. But the good thing is that you can get information and peel that onion back yourself and not take for granted that what's getting printed in the media or what's been showing to you on, the network news is the truth. Well, I mean, that was the reason On Tampa Bay, we started On Tampa Bay at the local level, because we just didn't feel that the local media, first of all, was delving into issues as deep as they should be and getting the real facts out there. Too much of it seems to be more of an agenda.
Yeah, well, what do you expect? But anyway, we're looking forward to 2015, looking forward to 2016, and I wish you a Merry Christmas.
And I wish you and Mary a Merry Christmas and a Happy
and Mark
New Year.
and all of you people out there.
And we'll hope to see you soon. Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye. Hi, I'm Lou Green. Welcome to America's Crossroads, and today we're in Fairfield, Connecticut at the Housatonic Railway Club, and they're getting ready for Christmas. I'm with Jeff Dean, the president of the club. Now, Jeff, how long has this club been together?
The club has been together since 1972, and we've actually occupied about 4 different locations in that time. This particular location we've been in for 7 years.
Well, it seems that you're reproducing a lot of the railway history of this particular area in southwestern Connecticut.
We are. We're replicating the Housatonic Railroad, which ran from Norwalk all the way up to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. The rail line, going back in history, was absorbed by the New Haven Railroad in 1896 and ran as the New Haven from then on. We are taking modeler's license and modeling it as a railroad that went independent, stayed independent for that whole time. And so we've well on the way to modeling everything from Norwalk, which is down on the coast, all the way up through Danbury, which is a major interchange point on the railroad and is right behind us over our shoulders here, all the way up to Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And we also have a line that runs out to Maybrook, New York.
Well, that's interesting because you can take this whole area of southwestern Connecticut all the way up to New York State and put it all in one room.
Yeah, well, it's a tight fit, and the room is not very large. It's only about 37 feet square, so we've had to use 2 levels in many areas of the layout to make it work.
So when you're finished with this, then this will be open for the public to come down and visit this at Christmas time?
We will have this open to invited guests.
So you get the retired railway workers get first choice. Well, Jeff, thank you very much for being on America's Crossroads.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing as I said, the final show and the final railroad. I hope you don't go union on us.
No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm back with John Shannon now. John helped put this whole thing together. You met him the other day when they were building the system. So, hey, John, how long did this take to put together?
Let's figure about 20 man hours. We have 4 or 5 club members that came down and helped for 3 nights, and now everything's running just fine. It's really a nice layout.
Does it take as long to take it apart as it does to put it up?
Comes apart in about 30 seconds.
What's called a train wreck.
Right.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
This is the setup that the Housatonic Railway Club is putting on display at the Fairfield Museum. You saw it a couple weeks ago, and they were putting this together. Now they have the final touches, and it's on display for all to see through the holidays. Well, that's it, folks. We hope you enjoyed the show and hope you enjoyed the series. Now we're headed for our midwinter break, so we'll see you around the roads wherever they might cross. So bye-bye from the crew at America's Crossroads.